This one's going to be a toughie. So hello everybody, welcome to Behind the Weebs, a look behind the scenes of SunnyCon Anime Expo anime convention in the United Kingdom. I'm Tucky, follow me on Twitter at Tucky the Weeb, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. It's down here somewhere. So today's episode, we're following on from the best moments from SunnyCon from 2012 up to 2019, which is now. We're going to follow that up with the worst memories of SunnyCon from 2012 up to 2019, which is now. So yeah, prepare for a lot of depressing stuff. So once again, there's 5 memories. Like I said, there's a lot of things that our individual staff and attendees will have as like possibly their worst. Hopefully not many people have like bad memories of SunnyCon. Our attendance figures would show that it's pretty good. But from an organisational point of view, we can't all be sunshine, flowers and honey and Lucky Charms or whatever that is. So here's like the top 5 things. I'm going to start off with the first thing, which was stolen money at SunnyCon 2. One of the most depressing things about running an event that deals with the public is you find out that there's a lot of elements to the general public that can be rotten, so to speak. And this came at SunnyCon 2. Like we barely just began being SunnyCon, and admittedly there was a security failure on our part by not securing our cash well enough. But it came at the point that we were at the Seaburn Centre and our reception desk was right at the front entrance, and our reception desk was basically two 6 foot by 2 foot tables. I believe we had like a crap tablecloth cover, and we had like the front reception part where people would come in through the front door, come to us, get their, what we had there was the badges, and they can filter on into the main hall or go upstairs to the panel room areas. And it was a decent enough venue, but beforehand we were told by the centre staff that there was a CCTV camera right above it. It was like one of them, like, you know, the black dome ones that'll point out, and it'll be focused on our cash area at all times during the convention. And we were fine with that because I came from a security background. I had an SIA license at the time. You know, I am trained security, and I'm very wary of the threats that potential thieves could pose to events like ours. Which is why, like, even now with trader safety, with attendee safety, I think I'm a little over the top at times, but it's stuff that needs doing. And for SunnyCon 2, we had like a lockbox there, but nobody took the key with them. The key was already in the lockbox because we usually had somebody manning the stand at all times. However, it was a very hectic year, the second SunnyCon. There was snowstorms, high wind gales, sideways rain, and it was just an absolute nightmare to be outside of the venue at the time. And we couldn't have people waiting, like, queue up outside. So we managed to filter everyone in. There was an attendance of about 2,500 people. And we were safe in that knowledge. And our staff were needed elsewhere at the event. Either for staging, for guest management. As there was a lot of high maintenance that year. So the weekend, we had a lot of attendees in. Staff were very stretched thin. But we always had somebody on that front desk. And the money was kept in a box, but the front desk, obviously, with it being busy handing out passes and whatnot, you know, we can't give the full attention. And it came to the Sunday, and we were totting up all of our cash and whatnot, and there was a substantial amount of money missing. So we've got there on the end of the Sunday, and there's approximately £6,000 missing. This was a hassle for us because, well, losing £6,000, huge hassle for us, especially how small we were. And this was like our initial years. We didn't take card payment. There wasn't anything electronic. Everything was cash in hand. And we thought, bugger. That it was it was a lot more than that. Like, you know, tears were had. I was fuming. But luckily we thought, hey, venue has CCTV camera that's pointing right down at the ducks, so we know we can look back on the footage and see. Obviously, with such a substantial amount of money going missing, we had to report it to the police. The police also asked for the CCTV footage, of which there was none. And it came down to it where it was a case of we'd reported it, and the police came forward to us and said, unless the culprit comes forward and confesses to stealing the money, there's nothing we can do. And that was the crushing part, because we owed out like venue money for afterwards, and like I said, we were really young business at the time, and that was a substantial amount of money just to disappear into thin air. So that was kind of our first really big hurdle, and from that we then got the situation where we'd informed the venue like that we want to run SunnyCon free at the leisure centre again, to which we were told you'd obviously have to pay the money outstanding. Got to December, and we'd agreed like in like a verbal agreement up till like about February that we'd have that money paid, and it came to just before December, and they turned around and says, you're not having the venue anymore, somebody else has booked it. Roll around SunnyCon free, we've managed to substantially get the Pullman booked like right next door, so there's very little movement, and you will not believe the amount of hurdles we had to jump through for that. But frustrating times. So next on this list, and this is alluding to what was mentioned in the previous one, the British weather. This is not just one year, this is practically every year, but more so when we were in Sunderland, because if you run an event, you have very little control of the environment, especially if you run an event outside, you have very little control of the elements. Good old Mother Nature likes to thrash around a bit, and from SunnyCon 1, it was fine. It was warm, you know, it's spring day, and we thought to ourselves, with the move from Crowtree, which was to be demolished, to Seaburn Centre by the seafront, we thought, a lovely spring day by the seafront, it's going to be warm, it's going to be fine. We even opted to get a campsite right next to the venue, commissioned by the council. We paid the licence fee and everything, and lo and behold, it comes SunnyCon weekend, it's raining sideways, there are 10-foot waves coming over right next to the venue. It's sub-zero temperatures. There was snow in March. Like, it was just, absolutely appalling. Go to SunnyCon free. The weather then becomes really hot. We have a outdoor marquee on the in the car park in the Pullman. Inside of that, really hot. We can regulate the temperature. We open some flaps and whatnot, but yeah, again, people will complain about the weather, and we did everything we could. We always inform people now, check the weather before you come and dress appropriately. Luckily, the amount of complaints we get for not being able to control the weathers went down, but that was one of the irksome things. It's like, what do you want me to do about Mother Nature? What do you want us to do, damn it? SunnyCon 4, yet again, outside environment. Marquees where we had to use sandbags and duct tape and cable ties to keep that whole event together, because we bought we assumed we were getting proper weighted marquees that could stay sturdy even in the worst conditions, and we had them arranged out in like the rows, and all the tables were inside and everything was set up, and then comes a slight gust of wind and and like my word, like SunnyCon 4, about 75% of staff time was wrangling tents to stay on the ground. They had, like, you know, kilograms and kilograms of sand. Like, one of the last minute things we had to do was buy industrial amounts of sand and absolute tons of sandbags and fill them up and make sure that they were attached to the marquees to keep them grounded. SunnyCon 5, when we moved to Newcastle, everything, you know, sorted, silent, everything's fine. Up until like recent SunnyCons, because of global warming, our summers are sweltering hot. We offer free water for anybody, and started around the venue, ice water anywhere you want. But yeah, again, it's boiling hot. It's scadding hot weather, and we're seeing this for 2020 in advance. get some water in you. Make sure you know what the weather is and dress appropriately. It can't be stressed enough, and it's always a battle between convention and weather these days now. Luckily, not so much as it was in the past, but it's still a really bad time. The third one, and this is another one that I've recently alluded to in point one, it was being screwed over by the council twice. Now, for our first year, we asked Sunderland Council for financial assistance in getting this set up because we would be using like council venues and whatnot, and it was more of a verbal like agreement, like a handshake agreement. Nothing was written down on paper. Boy, was that a mistake! But we were kind of promised that we would get the hire of the venue for nothing. Because, we're working with Sunderland Council, they get the glow of, look, this cultural event in Sunderland, never say there's nothing to do in Sunderland, we've got a cultural event that started here. They get all of that fanfare and that, and we get the venue for the weekend. It didn't work like that. We had to fork out, I think it was like about $5,000 for the fee afterwards, which was a cost we were not expecting. And then discussion for SunnyCon year 2 came around, and we were okay because we had the attendance to like back that up. So any excess finance we had from the profit of SunnyCon 1, it managed to pay off the venue and left us with enough just to go forward for the next year. And then the next year the money goes missing, and then we get to the point that I finished off point one on, which was when we went for SunnyCon 3, and we asked the venue if they could hold it for us, knowing full well the situation that the money had disappeared and that we couldn't like pay up until then. And like I said, they turned around to us and they said, "Oh, the venue's been booked out by somebody else for your dates." And we were like, we understand. We haven't paid anything. Somebody else is willing to come in, pay the money to hire the venue out. That's all fine and dandy. Roll on the week of SunnyCon 3, and we look next door to see what kind of event it's going to be like. Our neighbours. Nothing was booked. They had lied to us, and that kind of like started us on the whole, well, I'm very sour with like the whole operation of Sunderland. Like I say, nothing in writing, so they're not contractually obligated to do anything for us. We're just this cultural event that starts in Sunderland, but the city has a reputation, and after being in it for so long, like running my own event, I can kind of see why anything successful in Sunderland always just moves to Newcastle. Next on the list, and this was this year. One of the worst memories for SunnyCon was Donna actually having to go to hospital. I say hospitalised. She's like, no, you got to say hospitalised if you were actually put in hospital. But she had to go to A&E due to poor health, and it was kind of a very stressful and weird time because this was on the Saturday, like peak day, and Donna had started feeling like cold and shivery. Like physically, she looked absolutely like freezing. Like our blood circulation for the upper part of her body just was not working, and she was passing out. And she was feeling nauseous and whatnot. So we rang 111 on the day, and they said just get her to A&E, to which we did, and that left the event without a chairwoman, which meant, like by de facto, I then became chairman for the rest of it, and I had to go from dropping Donna off in a taxi to get to the hospital. I had to run upstairs and do my whiskey panel straight afterwards. The show must go on, but it was kind of, the thing is, like for me personally, it was absolutely stressful because I can't be there with Donna. I'd love to be there with my wife, looking after her and making sure that her health and well-being's taken care of. But on the other hand, we have thousands of attendees in a stadium. I think a testament to how well the event was run was that nothing suffered. That's not to say like, Donna's not an integral part of the team, and if she disappears, like, everything goes on. It's the amount of work that she put in beforehand that made the event run so smooth, and everybody knew their job, everybody knew what they had to do. We got through that. She was later released on the evening of Saturday and told to like have a proper rest. Answering people's questions at after o'clock in the morning was a contributing factor, but a lack of sleep would probably have contributed to it getting worse. And it's something that we're definitely looking at for future years, to take into consideration like our own staff and our personal well-being and health, because we don't want to have to go through a situation like that again. And I love you, Donna. You worry us sometimes. Finally on this, and I could possibly say the worst experience. I think it's a mixed bag, and I'll tell you why. It's because from an organisational standpoint, this was the event that where anything, like when you plan for an event, you have to plan what you can control, and the rest's just variables. Anything can happen outside of this bubble, and when things go wrong outside of the bubble shrinks and shrinks, and the more that you've got control of, you lose all of that until it kind of surrounds you, and there's only you can control, and the rest of it's just absolute chaos outside. That was SunnyCon 4. That was like SunnyCon 4 as a whole. The whole of SunnyCon 4. If you ask me personally, like in person, I will tell you it was the worst event ever. From an organisational point of view, people enjoyed it. People had a dance party. People just had a laugh at the marquees, at like us trying to hold everything down, move things around. But for an organisational point of view, it was the event that everything that could have went wrong, and it went wrong spectacularly. And how we survived after SunnyCon 4 is still a mystery that Scooby and the gang won't even be able to sort. Like I've got it. Where do we start? The windy weather, the cheap and tacky marquees that I'm sure were more dangerous than they should have been. The fact that I'd spent thousands of pounds on said marquees and didn't get the quality, and at the end of it, out of just sheer frustration and adulation, we just beat the crap out of them marquees. I've got a picture of the challenge accepted gaming area, which was outside at the time, and it was just us beating the crap out of them. And off that, I've like I say, £1,000 spent in scrap value. I got £30. So investment in the long term, we are terrible at it. It wasn't just that though. Like our VIP bags and totes were late in being delivered. We decided to have a security fence, which wasn't stable enough around. I believe there was a counsellor trying to barge his way in to see without a ticket. Like the Pullman wasn't the best kind of venue for all of this, and the biggest ones was the guests cancelling. Todd Havercorn and Sean Schemmel cancelling literally last second, and for the amount that we lost in not being able to recoup the cost of the marquees, throw into that we'd paid for the return flights of both guests, and both couldn't show up. One for health reasons, one just couldn't make it. And that was gutting, because when you run an event, when you put so much effort into an event, in the run-up, we had spent thousands of pounds advertising these two guests were going to be here. Before I rant on any more, Uncle Cargate turned up. Absolute legend he is. And, he's always got a place in our hearts because he turned up. And, thank you, Cargate. If you're watching, thank you. My God, thank you. In fact, the whole of SunnyCon owes you so much wine. I don't think we'd ever be able to fill that kind of quantity for what we owe you for that. Well, thank you for showing up. But guests cancelling last second. When Schemmel contacted us, and like he said, like, well, I've got a health issue, and we've got to understand. You've got to understand that. And the thing was, our agreements with the guests were kind of over email, informal, a lot informal. And from SunnyCon 4, what we've taken from that is we have airtight contracts with guests now. Because, like I say, you look up a return flight to and from America, times that by 2, and we couldn't get a refund. We could not get a refund on them flights, even though they hadn't checked in to get them. We'd lost so much money. I mean, we didn't have to pay them their fee, so yay, but that paled in comparison to the premium economy flights we booked. and that hit us really hard. Mentally, physically, like I say, worst SunnyCon ever. I married two people. I married Craig and Steph there, and Craig's going to be the best man at my wedding as well, which would be cool. But I got ordained to do that, not in an official capacity because obviously you need to register from the local council, but I'm technically a minister. Thank you, internet. But like that's probably that, and hanging out in one of the hotel rooms with the geek shows probably is the two things that I can actually remember from that, because my health took an absolute nose. After the second one, I had a panic attack after Todd had cancelled, because we'd said like Schemmel can't make it, and a lot of people were like, oh man, you know, people had travelled from Holland to come see Schemmel, and they were good. And for us, that was crushing. That was absolutely crushing that we couldn't hold up our end of the bargain there. I hope they were understanding. Well, like I say, Cargill and Massigo X, who actually turned up, thank you guys. Absolutely amazing. But when Habercorn had sent through, that was it. I became disassociative. My chest was in pain, and I've got a family history of like heart problems, and I kind of switched off. Like the chest pain was severe, and that was my weekend. And like coming out of it, how Donna managed to keep it all up and running. That was the thing that made me quit being chairman for SunnyCon. That was it for me. Like I couldn't handle the pressure of everything going wrong. I folded like a cheap pack of cards. I folded like a Tory negotiating Brexit. You know, I can't hack that again. I don't want to ever experience that again in my life. And thank God for Donna for picking up that baton and running with it and saving SunnyCon. Because without like Cargill, without Massigo, without Donna, without Challenge Accepted, you know, it would have just been a brawl in a car park from people who are absolutely ticked off at not getting what they deserved and what they paid for. And that's why I always say SunnyCon 4 for me, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And how are we still running after that disaster, I don't know. Well, I do know, Donna. So, you know, if you ever see Donna, just remember what she's done to get us to where we are, and she's absolutely dragged us up from that. And, you know, I love her more for it, and I hope you as attendees can appreciate that kind of effort, and especially seeing where we are now to what could have been. So thank you very much for watching. Remember, please subscribe to our channel, and as always, I hope it's been educational, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.